Marcus had already started walking fast toward the road when I realized something wasn't right. And at first, I thought he was just messing with us, because that's the kind of thing we would normally do to each other, especially in a place like Crybaby Bridge, where people expect to be scared. But the look on his face wasn't playful, and when I followed his line of sight, I saw someone standing near our car at the far end of the bridge, not leaning against it, not trying to get into it, just standing there in a way that felt deliberate. We had left the car less than 10 minutes earlier, and the road had been completely empty. So the fact that someone was there without us hearing an engine or headlights immediately made my stomach tighten in a way I didn't want to acknowledge. Before I could say anything, we heard gravel shift behind us, slow and unmistakable. And when we turned, there was another person stepping onto the bridge from the opposite side, coming from the direction of the main road. The bridge isn't long, but at night, it feels narrower than it is, and standing in the middle with one unknown person at each end changes how you see space. They weren't shouting at us or telling us to leave. They weren't moving fast. They were just walking forward at a steady pace that felt controlled, like they already knew exactly how much distance they needed to close. Ethan raised his flashlight and aimed it at the one near the car, and the beam caught enough to show that it was definitely a person wearing a dark jacket and jeans. Nothing exaggerated or strange about the clothes, but when the light reached the face, the person turned slightly away, not shielding their eyes, but avoiding the beam in a way that felt intentional. The one behind us didn't react to the light at all. They just kept walking forward slowly, and the sound of their steps on gravel and then concrete felt too loud in the quiet around us. I tried to think logically about what was happening. Maybe they were locals who didn't like people hanging around. Maybe they thought we were vandalizing something. That explanation would have made sense, except that if someone wanted us gone, they would have said so. They would have shouted, threatened, done something to assert control. These two didn't do that. They just adjusted their position each time we shifted ours, keeping the same distance from both sides, as if they had practiced it. The realization that we were being boxed in didn't come all at once. It settled in gradually as Marcus took a step toward the center of the bridge, and both of them mirrored it without speeding up or slowing down. There was no obvious aggression, but there was no hesitation either. It felt like they were testing how we would respond. I became aware of how exposed we were, how there was no third exit, no side path, no real barrier, except a low concrete railing and a shallow creek below that wasn't an option unless we wanted broken bones. Marcus whispered that we had to pick a direction, but picking meant committing to running toward one of them, and that's when I understood how carefully this had been timed. We hadn't heard a vehicle arrive. There had been no footsteps approaching while we were standing there earlier. That meant they had either been in the trees, watching us from the beginning, or had approached quietly while we were distracted. Neither option made me feel better. When the person near the car took another step forward, closing the gap just enough to force a decision, Marcus ran. It wasn't planned. It was instinct. Ethan and I followed immediately because staying in the middle felt worse. As we ran toward the car, the person at that end didn't charge at us. They waited until we were almost within reach and then stepped slightly to the side, enough that we had to pass within arm's distance. I remember the closeness more than anything else, the awareness of a body right there, and the fact that they didn't try to grab us, didn't speak, didn't react. It was like we were being allowed to leave rather than chased away. We reached the car and got inside in seconds, doors slamming, locks clicking, and for a brief moment, everything felt still again. Marcus started the engine while Ethan kept the flashlight pointed out the windshield, and when the headlights came on, they illuminated the man standing in front of us clearly for the first time. He looked ordinary, not masked, not exaggerated in any way. His expression was flat, almost neutral, and he didn't move out of the way until Marcus eased the car forward. In the side mirror, I saw the second man standing near the other end of the bridge, also watching, also not moving toward us. They didn't chase the car. They didn't shout after us. They didn't try to block the road once we were in motion. They simply stood there on Crybaby Bridge and watched us leave as if that had been the point all along. The silence in the car afterward felt heavier than the silence on the bridge. None of us tried to explain it right away because there wasn't an explanation that made sense. We've dealt with security guards before. We've been confronted by property owners. Those situations involve words, threats, clear motives. What happened on that bridge didn't. It felt measured, controlled, like we had stepped into the middle of something we weren't supposed to interrupt and had been calmly repositioned without force. What unsettles me now isn't the legend people tell about Crybaby Bridge. It's the structure of what happened. Two people, perfect timing, no noise announcing their arrival, no visible emotion, no attempt to escalate once we were back in the car. The only thing that felt certain was that they had chosen the moment to move when we were exactly where they needed us to be. And if Marcus hadn't turned around when he did, we might not have noticed until both exits were already too close to escape. We still explore abandoned places. We still take risks we probably shouldn't. But we don't go back to that bridge. And none of us ever stand in the middle of a narrow space with only two ways out without checking both ends first. Because that night taught me something simple and uncomfortable. You don't need something supernatural to feel hunted. You just need someone patient enough to wait until you're boxed in. Thanks for watching No Sleep Tonight. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It truly helps this channel grow. And if you want more unsettling stories, there are 2 more waiting for you on the screen right now. I'll see you in the next video. And until then, sleep well.